Welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Karamoko, and in today's video I'm going to talk to you guys about the do's and don'ts in a recession, like the one we're currently in as of the making of this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I talk about personal finance, investing, and pretty much anything that has to do with money and how you can save more or make more. So if you're all about that, subscribe to the channel and never miss another video. But without further ado, let's get right into this video. Before I tell you what you should do and what you should avoid, it's very important you know what exactly a recession is. There are plenty of definitions out there, but to make it simple, it's basically when an economy isn't doing so well for a prolonged amount of time. The National Bureau of Economic Research defines it as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy, lasting more than a few months. Normally visible in GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. There's more than one way for a recession to get started, but here are some of the main things that can cause one to happen. So first, a sudden economic shock. An economic shock is a surprise problem that comes out of nowhere and creates serious financial damage. Like an illness with no cure that starts wiping people out left and right, causing the shutdown of economies worldwide. YouTube will get angry at me for saying the name of this illness, but I'm sure you know exactly the one I'm talking about. That is if you're watching this video in 2020. A recession can also be sparked by excessive debt. Basically, when individuals or businesses take on too much debt, and then the cost of servicing those debts grow to the point where they can't pay their bills. This in turn increases defaults and bankruptcies, which then disrupts the economy. A good example of this is the housing bubble in 2008 that led to the Great Recession. The markets crashed because too many people had taken on loans they couldn't afford. Lenders relaxed their strict lending standards to extend credit to people who were less than qualified. This drove up housing prices to levels that many could not otherwise afford, creating chaos in the economy. And then there are asset bubbles. This is when investing decisions are driven by emotion. And when you mix emotions with investments or money in general, bad economic outcomes tend to follow. This can happen if people become too optimistic during a strong economy and they start throwing their money at investments that they think will yield tons of cash because the economy has been on a long bull run market period. Eventually, the markets will correct and major sell-offs can take place, and all those people who threw their life savings into stocks or real estate will lose most or all of their money. This will result in bankruptcies and people not being able to pay their bills, and it becomes this domino effect of negativity in the economy, sparking you guessed it, a recession. Another big one is too much inflation. Inflation is the steady upward trend in prices over time due to increased cost of production of goods or a surge in demand, essentially driving prices up, which in turn decreases the value of your money. Inflation isn't a bad thing per se, but excessive inflation is a dangerous phenomenon. Central banks control inflation by raising and lowering interest rates. When banks increase the cost of borrowing money, less cash flows through the economy and fewer loans are made. This is a measure that's taken with the goal of reducing inflation. Doing this makes people save more and cut expenses. The opposite happens when there is too little spending in the economy and businesses are struggling. When this happens, banks lower the cost of borrowing money, which gives businesses and farmers access to cheaper cash that they can use to expand and lower the cost of making goods, which in turn makes people spend more and discourages them from hoarding cash. Too much inflation can trigger a recession, just like too much deflation can do the same. Now that you have a rough idea of what a recession is and what set of events can cause one, let's get into what you should do and should not do during one. Number 1, do not panic. During an economic crisis, beware of the media. They will report the bad news first and often gloss over the good or encouraging news. Try not to take the news reports too seriously, as good reporting is becoming harder and harder to come by. Also, don't wait around for the government to turn things around and bring you a bailout plan. This will only get better for you if you make things better for yourself. If people spend half the time they waste complaining about the government not doing anything on actually finding a solution to their financial problems, they would be far better off during an economic crisis. Number 2, do not take your job for granted during a recession. It's highly likely that people are getting furloughed left and right, and it's definitely not the time to be slacking off, being late, and spending your paycheck carelessly. Your company will not hesitate to let go of anyone who isn't necessary during hard times to stay afloat. So if anything, work harder and get as many hours as you can if possible. It hits a lot harder to be unemployed or fired during these times as opposed to not one, because finding another job can take months and months, or in extreme cases, maybe more than a year. No one else is gonna pay your rent, food, and bills, so make sure to be as conservative with your expenses as possible. Cash is king in recessions. It's better to have this in mind before one than in one. So be prepared. Number 3, do not add any more debt to your life if not absolutely necessary. Getting loans, financing a car or a house, or maybe maxing out your credit cards in a recession can backfire very quickly if you don't know what you're doing. Unless you have a couple millions laying on the side, you shouldn't be racking up any more debt than you have to, because your employment could be at risk. It's not because you still have your job after others have been furloughed that you're guaranteed your spot. And by adding more liabilities to your finances, you are gonna fall even harder if or when you lose your employment, because now you have extra debts to pay off. Not to mention the depreciation of the car, house, or asset you think you just bought, or probably already have. Because if you try and back out, it might not even be worth what you initially paid for it. So be very, very cautious. On the flip side, if you've been saving money since before the collapse of the economy and you're privileged with a steady stream of income during the crisis, buying assets like real estate or stocks can be very lucrative, as big companies will go on sale and real estate prices may fall. This goes without saying, but before investing your money in assets, especially during harsh economic times, do your homework. Okay, do your homework on the assets first and evaluate them thoroughly. Make sure the sum you're investing won't hinder your finances in the short term. Recessions turn a lot of people broke, but the smart ones grow exponentially richer because they have a plan and they know where to put their money at the right time. I made a video talking about the difference between assets and liabilities, and I encourage you to give it a watch later for an in-depth explanation of both. Knowing these two things thoroughly, especially in a recession, is crucial if you want to come out of one striving and not struggling to survive. Number 4, do not try to time the market. A very big mistake that can wipe a lot of your hard-earned money is trying to time the stock market. The truth of the matter is, no one can tell you for a fact when stocks will rise or fall. No one can tell you with absolute certainty that we've reached the market bottom. And deep down, you know this is true, but still try to time it anyway. I'll be honest, when I first started investing, I didn't know anything at all. I would always try to do this, and let me tell you, I learned my lesson the hard way. Alright, so this is me from the future editing this video. I just wanted to include a short little clip of my ex-Robinhood portfolio. I say ex because I moved on to another platform called Webull. But as you can see here, I started investing around start of January 10th it looks like. And you know, I was doing okay for the next few days until the collapse of the economy. As you can see here, my stocks just went down quite a bit. My investing strategy didn't help at all. What I was doing here between March 4th and May 18th was trying to buy stocks that were going up fast and selling as soon as they were dropping to recoup, you know, my costs. And as you can see, when you do it that approach, it doesn't end up so well. I ended up losing so much money. Now the percentages you see at the top here are not accurate because it's taking into account my whole trading journey, I guess. But it's pretty safe to say I lost about 60% of my money, which was terrible. Okay, I was not doing well at all. So around May 18th, I decided to give up. I sold my stocks when they came up to an acceptable level. So I took a little break, for a month. I stopped investing because I was traumatized. My stocks were just plummeting and I didn't want that to keep happening. But then, you know what? I said, I'm just going to invest for the long term because a lot of the stocks I was selling off were going back up again. I don't know if it was just a streak of bad luck on my end, but the point is my investing strategy was just not working at all. So from June 15th and onwards up to today, I started just buying good stocks that I, investigated thoroughly, and I just held them. No matter if they went up or down, I didn't sell. If they go down, I only bought more of them. And as you can see with that strategy here, it was a little bit of a rocky start, but it was still an upward trend, and I kept all of the stocks. And lo and behold, it just, a couple of my stocks exploded on the way. So this is that big jump there. But no matter the highs and lows, I kept the stock, and it's been doing me wonders ever since. If you take anything at all from this, let it be to stop trying to wait for prices to fall to buy in the market, because it's very likely it'll end terribly. Which brings me to number 5. Do not fall for get-rich-quick schemes. During hard times, people tend to be more susceptible to these guys claiming they've made tens of thousands every week using a simple technique that they've developed, and are willing to share this with you if you just join their live webinar or read their book, visit their website, or I don't know, whatever they're asking nowadays. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it doesn't work that way. Their goal is to just disguise common sense information and tips as these secret invaluable steps to make millions and sell that to you for top dollar. So please don't fall for it and throw your money out the window. To tie it all together, don't panic. Organize a plan of action right now in the event that a recession sneaks up on you. That way you can be prepared to not only survive, but to come out of it much wealthier. If you're employed, don't take your job for granted. Try and work as many hours as you can and save as much of your paycheck as possible. Don't add any more debt to your life if not absolutely necessary. And if you're in a position to invest some cash, don't try to time the market, because the more you wait, the more likely you are to wait, which leads to more waiting, and then you end up missing out on great deals. And that in itself will pretty much make you hate yourself. Like me, when I had Tesla stocks when they were just $390, I sold them expecting it to go down even further just to watch it grow to a whopping $2,000 a share. Almost made me cry. Last but not least, ignore get-rich-quick schemes and gurus preaching easy ways to earn millions, because there are no shortcuts to financial freedom, unless you actually held your Tesla stock since before they blew up. But that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Also, most of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you like my videos, don't forget to do so. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. It takes me so much time to put these videos together. You would not believe the amount of hours I put into this. But thank you so much for watching again. Until next time, bye-bye.